did want to tap in first to talk about my friend, the captain, Mr. Cam Heyward, being named AFC Defensive Player of the Week following his performance against those Las Vegas Raiders. And yes, man, I do think it was well-deserved. We talk about what he did on the field. Obviously, 7 tackles, 3 for loss, 2 sacks, and 1 pass defended. They even talk about, in terms of the NFL-wide, how Cam was the only AFC defender to record multiple sacks in Week 16 on top of that, which we all know on the field that, is an amazing feat in its own right. But then when you take in the context of everything else that was at play with the passing of Franco Harris, the emotions that all those guys were wearing, obviously Cam being the leader of that, running out with the 32 flag and things like that, and just that significance, Christmas Eve, everything, all these other reasons for why he could have came out there and played less than ideal or less than exceptional, but for Cam to come out there and play that way with that type of intensity for 4 quarters and really set the tone, man, it was just a huge honor for him to get this. And like I said, man, when you knew what the Raiders brought to the table in terms of having the league leading rusher and having Devontae Adams, who, like we talked about, is an elite receiver in his own right, and you see how Cam, from the beginning of this game all the way to the end, had his impact in the run game and in the pass game. To me, man, this is just a huge accolade for him, man. And I think, like I said, man, for him, it was well-deserved. And I'm happy to see that my dog still, in his latter years, can still get it in and whoop up on the young pup. Because, yeah, it was a rookie that happened to be the recipient of a lot of those butt kickings in the line of scrimmage for Cam to have that type of productivity. So salute my dog. Absolutely.
On top of that, getting multiple sacks from the interior of the defensive line. We know that's tough in and of itself. That's why we look at dudes like Cam Heyward over these past however many seasons and an Aaron Donald.
Yep.
Are like, wow, damn, like if
That's
you're getting
crazy,
double-digit sacks, like hell, even Tuitt did it for us in his last
freaky,
season.
bro. That is tough to do, man.
Chris Jones is doing it this year. I think Quentin Williams is around that area.
Yep.
So, like, you got to give a big shout-out to those guys because you're not supposed to technically be getting sacks at that rate. You're just supposed to be clogging up the interior, having people double team you, or just getting pressure on the quarterback.
So that way he can't step up in the outside linebackers and get the sack. That's what it's supposed to be by design. But you just have freakazoids like a Cam Heyward who is able to be more than just a decoy or a gap clogger. He is actually a productive playmaker. And it's, like I said, just dope to see that he's never complacent. I mean, you would think a guy that has made the money that he's made, has had the success that he's had, the accolades that he's had, the recognition, the career, the wins and everything, that, yeah, it'd be easy to just show up and just, kind of coast his way out. But for Cam, I mean, we talk about this is what, week 16 when this was going on, man? It's like, yo, this dude is a madman. He's still heavily committed to this thing and very, very passionate about it. And you can still see that reflected upon his play, man. So, like I said, man, I just wanted to give a big time shout out to my dog, Cam Heyward.
Question for you.
Defensive Player of the Week.
Outlier or more to come from this?
Well, put it like this. Based on his play since the bye week, this has been a little bit more of the consistent. Now, obviously, the level of productivity that he had specifically in this game,
This was more like last year.
Yes, I lean to this and say this is more outlier for this season. But I don't think that it's far-fetched for him to have similar. I just don't know if he's going to be able to have 7 tackles, 3 for loss, multiple sacks, because number one, he had a great matchup. Dylan Parham, rookie 3rd rounder. We said, man, we know what he does to rookies. We saw that week 1 when he had the rookie out in Cincinnati. So we knew what he was capable of. And then you have Dylan, who was coming back from a knee injury where he was limited all week in practice. So you knew even in that capacity, he was going to be compromised in some way, shape, or form. So to me, I thought that Cam, number one, had a dope game, but he also had a dope matchup. Now, when you're talking about the matchup this week, are we going to play him like we did last time we played Baltimore? Are we having him over the center? And it's him versus Linderbaum, and we saw how Linderbaum really was able to use his quickness to get the best of him. Or are we going to play Cam in his natural 5 technique, and now you're looking at him having a more traditional matchup that he's accustomed to playing in? If it's that, and he's in that 5 technique or a traditional 3 technique when we go to our nickel, I think that he can still continue to have this type of productivity. Like I said, maybe not in the sense of 7 tackles, 3 for a loss, and multiple sacks, but I don't see why it couldn't be 4 tackles, 1 for a loss, 1 sack. I don't see why I couldn't do that, and that still be very impactful. And you do that down the stretch, I think he's definitely capable of that. But if you're moving him to the nose like how we did last time we played them, I don't know, because that's just not what he is accustomed to doing. It's just a different ask. I know we'll talk techniques and some of that stuff does carry over, but it's still different. And that's, why those body types are the way they are and why the players are asked to do certain things in certain positions like that.
We'll see what happens with this dude we just brought in, Jonathan Marshall. Maybe we picked him up for a reason in this specific game.
Yeah,
being
and
one of them.
Montravius Adams is another guy.
Yeah, he played pretty good last game too.
When Montravius is playing well, Montravius can handle that nose tackle responsibilities. When Montravius is not as consistent at times, that's when they start to get a little bit, they panic a little bit. And that's when you start getting the exotic formations and alignments. Hey, Cam, you get over here. Hey, DeMarvin, you go out here. And they start doing that type of stuff. So, like I said, we'll really see. We won't know what approach they're going to take, obviously, until they get out there. But based on what they did last time we played Baltimore, which was 2 weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks ago? Yeah. It was 2 weeks.
Wasn't too long ago.
It was technically 3 weeks. I don't know
Probably
how you want to.
3.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. This makes the third week right here, then. I think. If I'm saying it right.
Panthers, then this game.
Yeah.
I guess, right?
So this makes the third one. I don't know how I feel like I was saying it weird, but
2 weeks in between.
Yeah. But I don't anticipate it being a ton of crazy drastic changes, because even in that game defensively, some of the bigger issues were still self-inflicted, guys not sitting in their gaps. So that's the part for me where we'll see. But yeah, I don't think that this can't be at least replicated in a similar fashion. Maybe if, like I said, not to the same extent, but at least in the conversation, at least in the framework, I think he is capable of doing that for these next couple.
I think I'm less concerned about what he can do in these next couple games, and just more, could this happen again next season? Can we get what we saw from Cam in 2021, what we saw from him in this game? Can we get some version of that where he is getting double-digit sacks? Because we're paying him a decent amount. And, man, to just have him do this type of performance at the age that he is at, and how I believe he's even outplayed his contract. Because I remember at the time, I forget when this was, back in 2019 when we gave him that big deal, I was questioning, is this the smartest move? He's going to be starting to get into his mid-30s the latter half of this contract. But I think he's completely outplayed it. I mean, now my question is coming into this, is this the final year of his contract? I can't remember. But
I thought he has 1 year left. I think he has 1 year left on that.
Can we still get this from him next year?
Well, let's look at it like this.
He works his ass off.
This is my thing. He had 10
and you're
sacks
seeing performances like this. You're like, why not?
Think about this. He had 10 sacks, 89 total tackles last year with 17 QB hits.
I mean, this year probably with that 2 sacks.
Just
listen.
8.5? 8.5 sacks this year, 62 tackles, 18 QB hits. Still has 12 for a loss, so it's not even a drop off. We're talking he's pretty much at his same numbers from last season with 2 games remaining. So
he's been banged up a little this year too, right?
You heard what I said, though. Numbers wise, he's still going to finish with identical to what he did last year.
I'm with you, but we would consider, just off eye test, this is a little bit more of an off year for him compared to last year.
And even with that,
I know we're talking about him being in the Pro Bowl. It's arguable between him and Simmons.
So even with all of the stuff that we want to say eyeball test, the numbers still reflect him being a very productive player. I mean, think about this, dude. Even in 2020, he has better numbers right now at 15 games, and he only played 15 games in 2020. He had 4 sacks, 54 tackles, 7 for loss, 19 QB hits. 2022, 15 games once again. Like we just said, 8.5 sacks, 62 tackles, 12 for loss, 18 QB hits.
I want him to keep being this way. It's just,
and he was selected to the Pro Bowl in 2020 as well. Obviously, last year he was Pro Bowl and first team All Pro. 19, his numbers right now. So 19, he was All Pro, Pro Bowl as well. And 19, he played 16 games, 9 sacks, 83 tackles, 11 QB hits, 11 tackles for loss, 23 QB hits. That was in 16 games. At 15 games, he's a half sack below that. What is this? Essentially 19 tackles off. He has more tackles for loss. Yeah. So he's one game less right now. He's only played 15 games to this point, whereas in that 19 season, he had played the full 16 total. And he's already on par with all of that. With still one more game to even match that game total. Yeah, man. I know at times the eyeball test hasn't been what we wanted to be, but I also believe in context. We also saw him for how many games this season without a TJ Watt out there. We talked about what that dynamic would do to the defense. We've seen this defense at times missing multiple key people out there. But once again, the numbers still reflect what they reflect, man.
I know. I'm praying he can pull this out for another year. So I really am.
My bigger questions, I don't believe it's can he do it from a productivity standpoint, because I think he can. My bigger questions are, as you continue to age, when does the health start to deteriorate? When does, that one injury turn into a lingering or a nagging, or it just takes longer to return? And we see that typically with guys as they continue to age. That's the question mark. And you're just playing that game of, when is it going to happen? Is it going to happen while he's here, or is it going to happen, when he moves on, whether that be retirement or obviously guys that go play somewhere else on that last,
I got to assume he's a Steeler for life.
I mean, we can all have our assumptions, but that's the thing, man. I'm just like, as long as he's healthy, I think that he definitely can do this again.
There are some of these interior dudes that age pretty well. Remember those Williams dudes
Seriously,
up at Viking? I don't know if they weren't brothers, were they? They just both had the last name Williams. Yeah. You call them the Williams brothers.
The big D-lineman dudes, yeah.
Yeah, they were pretty good, and they were getting up there.
Yeah.
They were 36, even 37.
I think about what was the big cat that was in was it Sean Rogers? I think was his name was. He was in Detroit and in Cleveland. Big, massive D-lineman dude. Kind of remind me of Calais. In terms of just massive.
He's one of them too.
Yeah, Calais is definitely one of them dudes. Yeah. So, like I said, if he can stay healthy, because Cam keeps himself in such good condition, and he's doing the smart thing of leaning out as he continues to get older. That's the other trick right there. You got to get that weight down if you're going to get up in age, because obviously father time. And that's how you combat father time. You just get light, and that'll keep that step where it needs to be. For Cam, he understands those things, and he's fully committed to all that stuff. So if he stays healthy, I do think, he'd be worth it. But what would be the price tag? Is that what this question is coming to?
I just want to see more of this from Cam. I don't want this to be false hope of oh shit, Cam's back.
No. See, for what you mean by that? What you trying to? When you say he's back, are you referring to we trying to get he's the man? When we trying to compare an Aaron Donald type? Is that what we on? Or are we just saying what you giving us this year? We could rock with that.
That might be a good way to put it.
Because
even if you just repeat this year into next year, that would be worth it. That's what I'm saying.
If you can repeat this year,
but
I don't need. I
think you brought up a good point about TJ Watt. Next year we should have a fully healthy TJ Watt
changes the dynamic of how you play Cam, because now you're not sliding protection to Cam and Highsmith, or you're trying to counterbalance Cam and Highsmith. No,
bring back another Joby too.
Right now it's back to we got one-on-ones, and Cam is gonna cook a one-on-one. That was why he was able to dominate versus the Raiders. He got a ton of one-on-one matchups because of who you got. TJ over here, who was another game removed from the injuries and starting to look a little bit more healthier. You had Larry Ogunjobi, who was playing how he always does, and Alex Highsmith. So when you're playing it with that type of lineup, Cam is going to be able to have his success. Cam's issue as he gets older is when it's double team after double team after double team after double team. Now you're wearing them out. Can you still give me some plays here? Can you still be above and beyond? And that's, when the age comes into it, that's the stuff that kind of gets you. You just can't do it for as long. No different when you watch basketball, right? And we talk about LeBron. It's could he go out there and dominate? Yes. But can he do it for 4 quarters from the start to finish, never come off the court anymore? No, he ain't doing that game in and game out anymore because of the age. So when we think of Cam, I think of him in a similar vein. He don't need to stand up and be, all world Cam. But if he can give us this version of Cam, what we've seen all this season, but in moments give us that upper echelon version, which I think he's more than capable of doing, then I think it makes perfect sense to, believe that he can replicate this type of productivity.
Yeah,
but healthy TJ makes a big difference. You got to have healthy TJ.